Hey there, MrAlgeBraun here. Today I'm going to start a series on my YouTube channel called Question of the Day. And so if you have any suggestions or problems that you would like me to do, go ahead and send an email to joe@mralgebraun.com. Be sure to check out the comments down below. I'll be posting my live stream link and also my website where you can get some more help if you're interested in that. And then also just check back on this channel because I'm going to be putting out a question of the day every day. So, and also up at the top, if you would click subscribe, I would appreciate that. So let's dive into the problem here. So I've copied down two specific problems for the distance formula. So that's going to be the problem that I'm going to work on today. This first point, we have u at 2, 3 and v at 5, 7. This one's kind of an easier one. But before I dive into this, I want to go ahead and talk about what these are. So x sub 1 is what this coordinate is called because it's in the first group, the first ordered pair, and it's the x of that group. And so this one here would be called our y sub 1. And so we can put a comma in the middle and put parentheses. And so this is in red because you don't need to write it. It's what you should be thinking about. So this one over here is x sub 2 because it's our second group. And this would be y sub 2 and put it in parentheses. So again, these numbers are going to be taken down here and plugged in into the appropriate spot. And so let me switch back to blue and we'll start doing that. So we're going to have d equals the square root, and then we'll start plugging some stuff in. So x sub 2 is right here, so that's 5. And we're going to subtract x sub 1, which is right here, which is 2. And square that, and then add it to the y's. So y sub 2 is right here at 7. Minus y sub 1 is over here, and that's 3. And so we'll square that. And so d is going to equal the square root, and let's take care of these parentheses. So 5 minus 2 is 3, and 3 squared is 9, plus 7 minus 3 is 4, and 4 squared is 16. And so d is going to equal, if we take 9 and 16 and add them together, we get 25. The square root of 25 is 5. So let me be specific here. So when you take the square root of something, normally we would write plus or minus, because if we square this to get back, 5 times 5, or 5 squared, is 25. But if we square negative 5, or negative 5 times negative 5, we would also get back to 25. Now, we don't normally write this in the distance formula because distance is usually referred to as, well, if we want to go scientific, we call that a scalar quantity. In other words, it doesn't have direction. Okay, so we usually leave the plus or minus off. If we wanted to make this, say we were in a science class and we needed a vector, vector is this quantity plus direction, so we would need the plus or the minus to do that. Okay, normally in like an algebra 1 or a geometry class, they would leave that off. All right, so let's move on to our second problem. And so I'm going to do it without the red things up here, so we'll talk about them, what we're thinking as we work through the problem. So d is going to equal the square root of x sub 2 would be the second group and the x of that, so it would be 6, minus x sub 1, which is right here. So minus negative 3 would be the same thing as add, so I would switch that to add, plus y sub 2, so the second group and the y in that, so we'd be we put down 5, and then minus y sub 1, which would be 2. And so we are going to square that. And so d is going to equal the square root of, so 6 plus 3 is 9, and 9 squared is 81, plus, and we're going to do this parenthesis, so 5 minus 2 is 3, 3 squared is 9. And so when we look at this one, 90, which is 81 plus 9, isn't going to come out even. Okay, so if you're doing this for a class, you're going to need to find out what the directions are, or maybe your teacher tells you to do something different. So you're going to need to know what format you want this answer in. So in this particular instance, 90 doesn't have a perfect square. So we can't take the square root. So for instance, if this was, say, 36, well, the square root of 36 is 6, because 6 times 6 gives us the group of 2 that we can pull out in front and take the square root. Okay, so that's an example. We don't have that set up, and so your teacher might want you to leave it in radical form, the radical being the square root. Or if you were in my class, my book actually tells you to put it in 1 decimal, round to 1 decimal. So let me change this to the wavy equal sign, which we would read about. And what this tells a person is that you have rounded the following answer. And to find the square root, you're going to need to either have a calculator or you're going to need to use a table. But you're going to look up the square root of 90, and I already punched that in here. So it looks like 9.48. And so if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, I'd round the 8 up. And so I would get about 9.5 as my final answer. Okay. Again, we use an equal sign when it is equal. If we round, we're going to use the about symbol. So a wavy equal sign. Okay. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for the problem of the day. Again, check out the comments down below. Hit subscribe if you want to get the problem of the day, get notifications for that. And I do live streaming, and I have my own website where I make videos for classroom content. So deep dive into each lesson. So if you're interested, take a peek. Again, that information is down in the comments. Mr. Braun, signing off.